Hi, it's Jeff doing the part 2 of the comparison between the Martin 15 series and the 15M series. I did the first one a couple of years ago, and it did provide all the main information. But what I found over the past 2 years in discussing with a number of people, including Martin Ambassador Diane Ponzio here in Paris when she was here on a clinic for training some salespeople I was invited to, I asked a lot of deep dive questions, and she answered a couple of those, and then I went on to ask some more deep dive questions to people who really know this, especially Peter Cree, who does a lot of design, aftermarket, kind of aftermarket design on top of the mahogany guitars and all that. He paints them and all that. So, and a lot of people, and actually on the unofficial Martin Guitar Forum, UMGF, where I've gotten a lot more additional information to answer a few more questions. So this is going to be a short video. I've got here, I've got a 15 series, so mid 2000s. This is a 515 Terz, 515 travel guitar, all solid wood, 15. And I have here, in addition, I have a 000 15M. This is a 2011. So what I want to do is go over quickly some of the discrepancies in information that I did not cover in the first video because there were a number of vague things that I looked into. I saw that I went back to the TD Sounding Board magazine and all that, went back, but there were a number of still open questions. So what I want to do is cover on all of those right now. So the first thing is that there is something known as the Red Book, and in that Martin has indicated that the first time that they use sapele wood, and I'm going to get that word pronounced correct because people sit there and critique me over how I pronounce it, but hey, I learned French first, so that's the way it is. So sapele wood was in the 15 series. They started in 2001. However, Martin did not specify in their catalog until mahogany or sapele until 2003. So it's quite a bit of years later, and then we saw that in my lineup when I was explaining that they didn't say that any sapele in the early 1997, 1998 versions of that magazine. And then this talk of the catalog here, so it wasn't until the catalog in 2003. At least that's what I found in the UMGF forum. Now we've got another thing that happened. Why was there the sapele wood and the mahogany? Why was there a switch? Why were both available? One or not? And it's pretty simple. The mahogany is officially placed on the wood endangered list. So I mean that's a species list. So I mean that's just, this happens. A supply and management of wood. There was also an issue that there's a switch to the name of the type of wood. So it was called select hardwood for the necks rather than mahogany. So that's because there's a wood supply. There's a problem with that. There was a specific buyer there's a wood buyer there for Martin who's on the UMGF list, who said that there were not very many sapele 15 series guitars made, so there weren't very many of them. Some people do refer to them as the D15S. However, the S does also mean we get an issue of does it slot ahead or not, but some people refer to the S, and I don't know if it was really in any documents or not, but people refer to that S to try to give it as a sapele. One key thing that that is very important to understand is that there was not a mixture of the two different types of woods, which I thought there had been, and I know that Taylor has done that since Taylor has done a mahogany top on top of sapele back and sides. They've done that with several other series on the 300 series, with the GS Mini, with the Baby Taylor 2. They've done that. However, I've been told that from people that are quite involved in Peter Cree said that this had never been done. It was either all sapele or it was either all mahogany. So they didn't mix the two types of woods together as other brands have done. So these are kind of all the key things to understand with these are burning questions. People ask me all the time, is my guitar, now there's another thing too to see, is that inside the label, there's a label inside, and this one, the 515 doesn't have one, but and I don't think actually they had it here, they don't actually have it in the 15M series. Inside of the 15 series and the larger size guitars, the 00, 000, and the D size and the jumbos, there's a label. And it said 000 15 or D15. And if it's a mahogany top, some of this is mahogany top. What mahogany top meant was that was all mahogany. Okay, so it was not sapele. So that's kind of the key thing to get out of this, at least what we can tell. And this, everyone I've said that they said they had the mahogany top on it, they said that they really believe their guitar TM10 mahogany. So it probably is. Okay. Key things to see here, the differences between the two that I want to focus on and just remind us of that I've been reinvestigating, checking here. So for what you're going to have, the differences between the two that you saw in the 15 and the 15M were that we got, again, it went from the 15 had the closed tuners to it went to the open back tuners on the 15M. Okay, so that was the main difference between the two in 2010. Okay, so for 2010 was the last year that these were done. They stopped the 15 series. Second thing, really important here, is that the sound hole had just a kind of this decal on the 15, and when it went to the 15M series, it had pretty much an inlay. Okay, so it had a real inlay on it. Third thing, really important point here, is that it went from a white Corian nut and a tusk saddle to, and sometimes I had micarta. I mean, it kind of wasn't really clear in some of that, but usually tusk. It went to bone and bone. Okay, so that's what it had. Also, it went from plastic pins, bridge pins, to ebony bridge pins. Okay. And a real key thing that you can tell the difference between the two is that you had dot inlays down to the 12th. Okay. And now this is the 15, this is a small guitar, so you can see, but it usually a bit longer. Had dot inlays. What happened here on the 15M series is that it went to miniature diamonds and they stop at the 9th. Okay, so some people like that, some people don't. It depends on the guitar players. One warning when you are looking at the different types of woods, be careful if you see something, marked as Morata wood or something. It's just a type of rosewood. I mean, there are lots of different types of rosewood for all these countries in South America or in Africa, wherever they're getting from. This should not be confused with other types of wood alternative names like Rich Light or micarta. Okay, that's very important to see. And neither of these guitars had Strata-Bond. They both had basically select hardwood woods on the necks. Okay, tends to be mahogany, and both of them you're going to get that. They had both had the satin finish. However, that's different than the X series and other series we see which go to the Strata-Bond, which is basically, that whole Strata-Bond is basically a type of multi-ply wood that has been used on lots of guns and bows, for types of arms in the manufacturing industry of those since the mid-80s. And then it was discarded by the guitar makers because it was great for that type of usage, okay, of holding things, and I mean it's great for the necks, so that's quite fine. The key thing to see here is at the point in time where in 2010, when there's a switch and everything went to wood supplies less, there's issues of supply, decisions of that, need to decide on wood alternatives and all those things that are going to go with it. It's just life those of the guitar industry and other furniture and industries too. There was a switch to make everything all mahogany on the 15M with all the nicer appointments that we just talked about, and kept the value up, okay, higher value, more expensive guitar. What they did is move the sapele down from they had the 15, moved down to the DRS2, and the DRS2 kept all of the previous 15 series appointments that we saw before that I mentioned. And it's really interesting today to see that I've been looking at some of those, like the Dreadnought Junior. I think if off the top of my head I've been looking at. That actually takes, it looks like they've taken the DRS2 and they kept the same specifications and just put it down into a smaller body guitar with appointments and all the types of woods. So this is a pretty simple thing. Less costly alternatives, which can make that higher cost alternatives, they're a little bit more for that type of guitar. Okay? So I hope that these answer a lot of the burning questions of what kind of guitar you had, or if you got that guitar from that 1997 to 2010 period. That's the kind of the critical moment, and I hope that these, the past video and this one, give a little bit of more details on it for you to help know what you got, especially when if you email Martin. I've seen an email in one of the UMGF forum where they got an email back and they really couldn't answer the question, not with serial number. They won't be able to answer the question, but they'll just basically say that you either have sapele or you all have mahogany. It's an alternative wood. There was choices made. That's it. And it was kind of the same, they just said it's the same basic species of wood, okay? That's all they said. So don't worry about it. They both have general same tonal characteristics, and they both sound great as Martins do. Hope that helps.